Bienvenidos, fans of the Netflix juggernaut Stranger Things. I'm Jaime and Fuego here for the horror show, and so very stoked to be getting down on some brief thoughts for each of the Stranger Things novels that have been published over the years. And first, we are starting out with Suspicious Minds by Gwenda Bond. Actually, the name is taken from an Elvis song, which is kind of interesting. Didn't even know about that until I was revisiting this. But this takes place in 1969, and it is all about Eleven's mother, Terry Ives, and the fact that back then when she was in college, she actually got involved in this, unbeknownst to her, MK Ultra bit of experimentation that happens with her and three other test subjects, and they end up forming a very deep friendship that is not too far off from the boys in 11 and obviously the growing cast in Stranger Things in Hawkins, Indiana. So you have Terry, you have Ken, you have Gloria, and you have Alice. And so they're all being subjected to different kinds of testing and stuff, along with psychedelics, obviously, which is interesting. And so you also get some backstory about Brenner. So not Director Brenner just yet, because he arrives at the Hawkins facility with none other than 8, which we were introduced to in the second season of the show, although she's only 5 years old at this particular point. And so her powers are still developing, but obviously she has a affinity for Papa, but also a bit of a fear, very similar to 11. And so, you know, just the friendship that just forms and gets even deeper amongst these characters that Terry becomes acquainted with, and, you know, their fellowship of the lab, as they call it, because this just oozes everything 1969. So there is talk about the Vietnam War, there's talk about the moon landing, Woodstock. It was just such a perennial year for all kinds of things going down in the United States. There's also some touching on racial tension, and I mean just various things of the time, including Tolkien, as I mentioned. And so I'm not going to spoil anything in depth, but this is possibly in the running for the best of these books because of the fact that they develop Eleven's mother, Terry, in such a intriguing fashion as she eventually finds out that she's pregnant by her boyfriend, who is fearful of being sent to Vietnam himself. And you also have the developing powers of these friends of hers, including Alice in particular, who becomes a big-time commodity for Brenner. You actually get a lot more information and insight to the character of Brenner than you ever got in the first season of Stranger Things, where Matthew Modine was such a fearsome presence, but not really explored in depth. This is a fascinating read for any fans of the show, and expands on 8 and made her a much more intriguing character to me as well. So that is my brief thoughts on Stranger Things, Suspicious Minds. Definitely give this one a read.